Hi everyone, I'm Ali, I'm an architect, and today we're going to talk about 5 things for PEDR. So let's go. These 5 things videos are really quick tips and tricks, and today we're doing PEDR, which is Professional Experience Development Record, which is how you log your experience in professional practice in architecture from your Part 1 up until you take your Part 3 exam, and you need 24 months of it in order to take your Part 3 exam. These tips and tricks are from me and some of my architect friends and colleagues, and also some of the things that have been said by Part 2s and Part 3s at work. So hopefully they're helpful. Let's get into it. Number 1 is do it on time every time. I know you hate me for saying that, but seriously, this is the main comment that I get. So I have people at work telling me they've kind of shot themselves in the foot by leaving it to the end, and it's literally everything that all my friends and colleagues came up with as the number 1 thing that's a tip and trick to kind of say is make sure you do it on time. One of the main reasons for this is to not leave yourself with a load of PEDR to get signed off right before your Part 3, because you'll be having enough to do when you're doing your Part 3 to not have to bother with that. Equally, time management is a really key skill for architects, even though a lot of them are not great at it, but we can talk about that another time. But basically, you want to show your Part 3 examiners that you had good time management, and if you had a load of PEDR sheets that were never signed because they were all submitted late, then they're going to kind of not be super pleased about that, and you'll get off on the wrong foot with them. So if you can, it's always better to do them on time. If you can motivate yourself, it's really, really good to just write a little piece of your PEDR at the end of every week or so, or at even the end of every month of the 3 months, just so that you can kind of keep up on what you've been doing. That's really especially relevant if you work in quite a small practice, because you'll tend to work on quite a lot of jobs at the same time, maybe like 5 or 6, and what's happening on them can kind of slip through the net if you don't keep a good record of it, and that's our second point, so we'll come back to that. Another thing with timings is to make sure that you take into account in how long you're giving yourself to do it, that you also give time for your workplace mentor to really read and comment on it. So yeah, please, please, please do it on time for your own sake. You will be so pleased if you do. And yeah, it's just going to help you so much later on. So that is the main tip and trick. If you turn off the video now, that's the one that you should really take to heart. Okay, number 2 is keep your own record, which kind of picks up on that comment for the PEDR about you kind of knowing what you've been doing and making sure you keep a record of it. So in work, obviously I usually have a notebook that has like minutes of meetings and sketches and things in it, which is a great place to make notes of kind of what you've been doing, and if there was any particular meetings that came up that were important, or if in the office you were asked to do something you've never done before. It's really good to have a record of those because they're great to bring up in your PEDR and to talk about in your reflective summary and things like that, to really sort of show your progression through that quarter. And it's great for you to be able to look back on as well and see where you've kind of done new things and progressed your learning. The other thing is to keep a small notebook, not a Moleskine, something a lot cheaper, on your desk, just like a normal pad, or do it online because that's obviously better for the environment. But I used to have just a little pad next to me all the time, and I'd write down just the date and then what jobs I was working on. So it might be like 1.5 hours to do a planning application or something. I'd write that in, what job it was for, what RIBA work stage it was, just to keep a record. Makes it so much quicker to help you write your PEDR and put in those work stage hours if you have like a small record. Your office might have a really good timesheet system that helps you with that, but it's nice to have something of yours that you can keep and take away at the end of every day. You don't have to copy it down off of a system, and you know it's 100% accurate. So that's just another bit of a tip. Okay, number 3 is use the RIBA plan of work. So that is this, which is now the RIBA plan of work 2020. I didn't use that. I used the older one because I'm too old. But basically, as you'll maybe know if you've already started logging some PEDR, the RIBA PEDR website asks you to log time against each of the work stages. And the reason they're doing that is, as I've already said, your PEDR is one of the things that's being assessed at your Part 3. And I know you might just be a Part 1 or really early in your Part 2, so you're maybe not thinking about that right now, but it's actually the only thing you start from the beginning of your education that's the key record of what you've been doing in professional practice the whole time. So the RIBA plan of work is how they check that you have kind of got a good experience, a good knowledge of every work stage and what an architect's role is in each of those. One thing to note and to not be worried about is that you're probably going to see most of your experience is hanging around in the stage 2 and stage 3 concept design and spatial coordination. That's normal because as an architect and a designer, so that's your key job, most of your time is spent in those early design stages. Okay, number 4 is use the ARB Part III criteria. This is probably a little bit more relevant if you're a Part 2 looking to do your Part 3 soon. Basically, as I've already said and as I'm saying continuously, your PEDR is one of the 4 things that's assessed in your Part 3, and so it's really kind of part of that you start on really early. What they're looking for is, as I've said, that you have experience of all of the RIBA work stages. What they're assessing you on at Part 3 is this, which is the ARB Part 3 criteria. I'll drop a link in the post description for this as well. Basically, this is split into 5 professional criteria, and when you have a look at it, you'll see in there's a load of like sub numbers like 1.1, 1.7, etc, etc. I'm not saying you should link to all those sub numbers. I'm saying you should do things like, this quarter I did X, which is an example of PC1, or PC5 or whatever. So you're basically saying, I have experience of PC1 and this is my evidence, so that it makes it easier for the examiners when they're looking at your PEDR at Part 3. They can see really easily that you have satisfied those professional criteria. So that's just a quick tip. Number 5 is keep copies or access. So this is it, guys, we've made it, and this one's quite a quick one. This is a bit of a carryover from my PEDR, where the first time I did my Part 3, I had to have a bound copy, which is this tea and Glasgow rain soaked thing. But nowadays things are kind of different. So the RIBA PEDR website was updated in May 2020, and now a lot more of it is online. So your workplace mentor comments in it and everything online. Not 100% sure how this works, so drop it in the comments below if I'm completely wrong. But I am hoping that once your PSA has signed your PEDR copy, you can download a PDF so that you can keep a copy yourself off of the RIBA PEDR website and keep it on your own like external hard drive or something, just to make sure you have it. Because basically it is still true that it's your responsibility to make sure that you have all of your PEDR when the time comes for you to sit your Part 3 exam. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Those are the 5 tips for PEDR. If you still have other questions on PEDR, then there is another video. It's called Understanding PEDR, that looks in things a little bit more in detail. And if you still have questions after both of those, then please drop them in the comments and I will try and answer them, or I will speak to somebody who can get them answered for you. Sorry about the motorbike. In the meantime, have a great day wherever you are, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Fucking moped.